Hey, welcome to this explainer. I'm honestly so thrilled you're here today because, well, we're tackling something that literally affects every single one of us every single day. We're looking at this brilliant concept that completely reframes how we look at success, human behavior, and, just ultimate fulfillment in our lives. A lot of the time, we get so totally caught up in the immediate moment, right? We judge our relationships, our success, even our own intelligence based on what's happening right now, this very second. But today, we're zooming out. We're going to map out the psychology behind instant gratification versus long-term, sustainable well-being. And I promise you, by the end of this, the way you look at those really loud, flashy people in your life, it's going to change permanently.
All right, let's dive right in. Our source material gives us this quote that honestly hits so hard. It says, "In short-term, toxic people get all the attention. In short-term, pessimists get to sound smart." Wow. I mean, we all know this frustration, don't we? You see it at work, you see it scrolling through social media, you probably even see it in your own friend groups. The person causing all the drama, the one complaining the loudest, or just tearing down someone else's idea, they suddenly get the microphone. They win the sprint. They get the likes, the immediate reactions, you name it. And it can feel incredibly invalidating when you're just trying to do the right thing, while watching these super negative people practically sprint ahead to grab the spotlight.
So that leads us directly to the giant elephant in the room. Why? Why do the worst behaviors seem to win? Why does the universe seemingly reward all that drama and cynicism? Honestly, this is the dramatic tension of our lives right here. We're constantly playing this brutal tug-of-war between the cheap thrill of instant gratification and the quiet, often totally uncelebrated pursuit of actual sustainable happiness. It feels like a paradox, right? But as we'll see, it's not a paradox at all. It's actually a very predictable, mathematical curve of human behavior. Let's look at our first major comparison, toxic versus healthy dynamics. Time is really the ultimate truth teller when it comes to human behavior, so we're going to trace how these two completely different approaches actually play out over the long haul. Let's trace the toxic route first. Step one is exactly what we just talked about, that flashy, undeniable, immediate attention. Toxic individuals are just incredibly good at making noise. But as we move to step two, time passes, and that same behavior, it inevitably leads to strained relationships. The drama that was kind of entertaining at first just becomes exhausting. People start pulling away, which brings us to the totally unavoidable step three, ultimate isolation. The attention was basically a sugar rush. It burned off and left absolutely nothing of substance behind to support them.
Now, let's contrast that with the healthy path. Step one here is so crucial to understand because, healthy individuals often face a really painful short term. Why? Because doing the right thing, setting boundaries, avoiding the gossip and the drama, it doesn't get you a parade. It can feel quiet, lonely, maybe even a little bit boring in the moment. But look at step two. Slowly, methodically, they build strong, genuine connections over time. It compounds. And that naturally leads to step three, achieving lasting happiness. It isn't some quick burst of attention. It's this warm, enduring foundation that literally yields a better life. When we put these two paths face to face, the reality of our choices becomes super stark. On one side, toxic behavior. You're essentially trading your long-term social survival for momentary spotlight, and you end up isolated. On the other side, healthy behavior. You invest in a slow build. You trade that immediate applause for strong connections and lasting happiness. When you lay it out like this, the quick payoff of being toxic suddenly looks like a pretty terrible investment strategy for your life, doesn't it? Okay, let's shift gears to our second big contrast, the pessimism trap versus optimistic glory. Think about the cynics in your own life right now. Or, the talking heads you see on the news. The ones who are constantly poking holes in new ideas, predicting failure, acting like they're the only adults in the room. Why is that mindset so incredibly contagious? Well, it's contagious because of what our source calls the pessimism trap. Pessimism is super superficially appealing because it feels like realism. Think about it. It is so much easier to tear down a building than to design and construct one. When you point out flaws, you immediately sound critical, analytical, and just plain smart in the short term. People nod along, but it is a total trap. It's a defensive posture. It produces absolutely nothing of value. It literally just protects you from disappointment. On the flip side, we have the true heavyweight champion of mindsets, optimism. Now, optimism is a really challenging mindset to maintain, mainly because you have to make yourself vulnerable to failure. You have to actually believe things can be better and then put in the elbow grease to make it happen. But the source material shows us the massive payoff here. The optimist reward includes greater resilience when things inevitably go sideways, vastly better problem-solving skills, because hey, you're looking for solutions instead of just complaining about the barriers, and ultimately, a way higher overall life satisfaction.
Side by side, the battle of these mindsets is incredibly obvious. Pessimism gives you the quick hit. It's superficially appealing. You get to wear the realist badge and sound like a genius today. But optimism, while it's undeniably tough at times, it does all the heavy lifting. It builds the resilience and the satisfaction that will actually carry you through a lifetime. The pessimist might get the microphone today, but the optimist gets to enjoy the rest of their life.
Now, I want to highlight this specific, honestly brilliant phrase from our source text, in long run, which may be painful. The author repeats this exact phrase for both healthy behavior and optimistic thinking, and we really cannot gloss over this. Choosing health and choosing optimism, it's a struggle. Actually, scratch that, it's actively painful in the short term. It requires immense discipline, a ton of patience, and the sheer willingness to let other people grab the cheap, easy wins while you quietly put in the hard work.
Let's map this journey out across a timeline to see exactly how this dynamic builds. Phase 1 is the short-term sprint of attention. This is measured in days. This is where the toxic folks and the pessimists totally thrive. But then, you hit Phase 2, the painful middle struggle. This is measured in months. This is where the toxic people start losing friends and where the optimists have to just grind through challenges without any applause. But if you can push through that painful middle, you finally arrive at Phase 3, lasting happiness and glory, measured in years, even decades. You basically have to survive the messy middle to get to the glory.
If we synthesize this entire explainer, a really clear pattern emerges. Across both our actions and our attitudes, the short-term consequence always offers a false promise, usually attention or perceived realism. But the long-term consequence, that's where reality catches up with you. Behaviorally, it's either isolation or happiness. Mentally, it's either emptiness or glorious resilience. Instant gratification is just systematically at odds with your sustainable well-being.
So the absolutely crucial point to take away from the text is this. Sustainable success requires prioritizing long-term well-being over instant gratification. It's that simple, but that hard. Every single interaction you have, every attitude you adopt, it's a calculation. You can't just look at the immediate consequence. You have to calculate the future yield. Let the toxic people have their fleeting attention. Let the pessimists sound smart today. You are building something designed to last.
Which brings us to our final thought. I really want you to evaluate your own habits here. Are you settling for instant attention today, or are you actively choosing the challenging, sometimes pretty painful path to lasting fulfillment? The next time you're tempted to fire off a cynical comment or cause a bit of dramatic noise just to be heard, remember this explainer. Remember that timeline. The short term is super crowded, but the long horizon, that's where the real glory lives. Thank you so much for exploring this with me today. Stay focused, stay optimistic, and I'll catch you in the next one.